How you doing? I'm Kevin O'Hara for alcoholmastery.com. Today I want us to talk about not allowing your programmed past to control your future. Now what I mean by that is that we're all brought up, especially when it comes to alcohol, but in most things in life, we're brought up with certain ways of doing things, certain ways of thinking, right? Certain ways of believing about certain things, right? And a lot of those things keep us safe. When you're crossing the road, you're taught to look left or right, and wherever you live, you're taught to avoid strangers. You're taught to do certain things which keep you on the straight and narrow, right? Keep you out of prison, keep you from getting yourself into trouble otherwise. So in this video I want to talk about some of the most obvious programming within alcohol. I want to talk about some of the most insidious programming within this, what you can do to change the programming, and what you can do even though you don't know it's happening. We're programmed from birth to accept alcohol as a part of our lives, right? I mean, think about when you see a kid nowadays, right? And they're watching an adult, they're watching all the adults around them, drinking and smoking, whatever they're doing, whatever the adult is doing, the kid is watching, right? And I'm not saying that they're going, oh yeah, this is what they're doing, but it's all sinking in. When you see something time after time, it just sinks in and it becomes a part of your normal thinking, right? It becomes a part of your beliefs, it becomes a part of how you think, and eventually it becomes a part of something that you will do in your life. A lot of people will eat the same stuff that their parents ate. A lot of people will drink the same drinks that their parents drank. A lot of people follow their parents. It's nurture rather than nature. So there's you get a lot of people talking about genes and the disease theory of alcoholism, but I think most of it comes down to what you see around you. I mean, if you're programmed to do something by the time you get to 18, and it's a part of your actual movement into adult life, to go out and buy your first drink, or to get somebody to buy you your first drink, then you can see how powerful that is. I started drinking when I was 12, and I'm sure most people who are listening to this have started drinking before they were 18, and it's just one of those things that, because it's so culturally acceptable, because it's acceptable within our society to do this, because we're surrounded by advertising, and we have been surrounded by advertising all of our lives, and advertisement that is pummeling us with these messages of, you can't have fun without drinking alcohol, you can't celebrate without drinking alcohol, you can't relax without drinking alcohol, you can't, so many different areas of your life that you cannot be happy in if you don't drink alcohol. That alcohol is a part of our lives, and for you not to drink alcohol, you must be an odd one out, especially if you come from the perspective of you drinking alcohol and then all of a sudden you stop drinking alcohol. Society makes you feel like there's something wrong with you, that you've got a disease, that there's something wrong up here in your head, that there's a fucking gene that's not right, that nobody else has, or that very few people have, because normal people can go out and they can carry on drinking. They can drink their drinks without being, without it being too much of an effect on them. The problem with this is you don't know what other people are doing. I mean, you might be out with somebody, you can see them, they might be getting drunk with you at the same time as you're getting drunk, and you might even see how much they're drinking, but you don't equate that. You only look at your own self. You only look at your own drinking habits yourself. You don't see these people when they're at home. You don't see them when they're going through the hangover. You can't feel their hangover. You can't see their thoughts or what they're thinking about their own lives and about their own alcohol consumption. The only time that you will ever hear about their alcohol consumption when they're worried about it is when they tell you. Otherwise you won't know. You don't know if they're going through the same things that you're going through. So this is this is just a part of being a human being. I'm not saying that this is part of the programming, but they use this type of thing to sort of separate the wheat from the chaff, if you like, and most people are just like sheep. Most people follow the herd. They don't think about what they're doing to themselves, what damage they're doing to themselves, how much this alcohol is getting into their lives, what it's doing to their brain, what it is to actually get drunk, and what that is actually doing to you. I mean, think about that for a second. What is your brain doing while you're going like this and you're sort of drunk and you can't really talk properly, you can't keep your eyes open, and all those symptoms of being drunk. This word drunk, what does that mean? Think about it. What is happening inside your body, inside your brain, to be more precise, right? Inside your whole network of nerves that are controlling everything that you do. What's happening to that nervous system when this alcohol gets into your brain and follows down throughout your nervous system? What is happening in your body that makes you go drunk? That word drunk. And most people don't think about that. Most people just think, I get drunk because it's fun. I get drunk because they don't even think I get drunk because my parents do it. It's just a natural progression, isn't it? They don't think I get drunk because my friends do it. Another natural progression. When we start drinking at the first place, it's very difficult to enjoy what you're doing because it tastes so horrible. The feeling is not really that nice, right? I mean, when you get drunk and that you get that spinning around and you feel like you want to get sick. I mean, all those, that's your natural system is saying, what the fuck is going on? What have you just put inside me? I'm trying to get this out as quickly as possible, and I'm going to hammer you with all these bad symptoms because I don't want this put back in again, But most people are like sheep, as I say. They will just follow on and they'll do the same thing that their friends are doing. They'll follow the herd, and that's it, basically. The same thing can be said for cigarettes. When 20 years ago, 30 years ago, most people smoked. 60%, 70% of people smoked, and there wasn't any second thought about it. I mean, obviously a lot of people didn't smoke because of whatever reasons they didn't smoke, but there was it was thought to be a part of normality, a part of our society. Our parents did it, we do it. Our friends do it, we do it. Right? Our teachers do it. Our judges do it. The police do it. Everyone around you is smoking, so you do it. As part of whatever. It's part of the programming. There's nothing wrong with I'm not saying this that you're a sheep. I was a sheep in the same way. It's certain things that you do. It's the food that you eat, right? It's the same thing. The language that you speak. We've got this innate subconscious ability to understand grammar and syntax and all the different components of a language, right? And you don't even have to think about it. It happens. As you're learning the language, this just becomes a part of your normal everyday life in your language. But listen to somebody else's language. Say, listen to Japanese, and it just sounds like you wouldn't be able to understand the syntax or the grammar of that if it bit you in the arse. So it's all in context. You eat the same foods because you live in a certain country that tends to eat that type of food. You live in a family that tends to eat that type of food. And so on and so forth. So everything about your life is structured in this way. That so many of the things, you go to college because this is what people do. You go to a certain school at a certain age because this is what people do. You leave school at a certain age because that's what people do. You get certain jobs because that's what people do. Blah 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 blah. All onwards and onwards and onwards, right? So I'm saying that this is the most obvious programming that's happening, and there's not much that you can do about it, right, from that perspective. So from that perspective, there is no shame of getting to the age that you are and having done what you've done, whether that's smoking, drinking, taking any of the other drugs, eating whatever food you've got, got into the state of not exercising, because that's all part and parcel of who you are and what you've been brought up to do. So there is no shame in that, but you're in a position now where you've woken up to a certain part of it, right? You understand the consequences, right, of what you've been doing, and you start to think about it, and you start to think, well, yeah, maybe I can do something different now. Maybe I should do something different. And then you start thinking, yeah, I have to do something different. So then you start looking for information, and information is power. Once you get that, you start understanding things about what's going on, understanding what the alcohol is doing to you, really, understanding that all the advertisements and what you've been told about alcohol is just basic programming, that it's brainwashing that's been happening to you over the years, and that it's not true. And then once you get to that stage, then you can start to do something about it. You understand the patterns of your habits, and you can start to change those patterns. And the pattern change happens not from this high level of the habit, right? The habit is a big thing that is encompassing, right? But each habit is broken down into the behaviors. Each behavior is broken down into the individual rituals, right? Each individual ritual is broken down into the individual blocks of things that you do to make up that ritual. Sitting down at a bar stool, having your glass in a certain place with a beer mat underneath it, whatever you call that, liking the same beer, whatever it is. It's all these little blocks that make up a ritual, and basically underneath all that, underlying everything else, are the thoughts, whether those thoughts are conscious or subconscious. And it's those things that you can change bit by bit by bit. And that's how you deal with any habit changes, to deal with things on the lowest common denominator, right, which is your thoughts. Then change your thoughts, change the little parts of the ritual. Then these little parts of the ritual change the rituals themselves. Then the rituals themselves start putting in pattern interrupts into the behavior, and the behaviors eventually change the habits, and you get rid of a habit, and you build a habit on that basis. Another point is that you're capable of changing, right? You're capable of changing from this minute to the next minute, right? It doesn't matter who you were 10 years ago, right? It doesn't matter what you learned 10 years ago, what you did, what you thought 10 years ago. It doesn't matter what you thought or did 6 months ago, or a month ago, or a week ago, or yesterday. It doesn't matter what you said or did 5 minutes ago. It only matters what you do now. And if you make the decision, you take the commitment to do it, you can change anything, right? And as I say, it's only a bit by bit change. So you don't have to think about the future, and think, I have to give up quitting drink, I have to quit drinking for the rest of my life. I can never have this again, It's a self-defeating way of thinking. I mean, once you get into this by a year or 2 years, and you really, you feel like you've left the alcohol behind you forever, right? That, you don't even think about it anymore, that you're that focused on where you're going and what you're going to do, how you're going to make the improvements in your life, and how you're going to move yourself forwards, onwards and upwards. Then you can start saying to yourself, I'm never going to drink alcohol again, and be comfortable saying that. But don't be bothering saying it to yourself now, right? At the beginning, when you're feeling it, when you've just made that move, right? You've just made that split, that disconnect, right, from the alcohol past to the alcohol present, right, or the alcohol past to the non-alcohol present. And you've just done that now, and it's like you've decided, right, to do this, right? If you make it now, it's such a big thing. I'm never going to drink again. Wow. Oh, that's so much. It's so much of a head fuck. Why would you do that to yourself? You don't have to. So take it on a day-by-day basis, right? I mean, but take it in chunks of 30 days. Anyone can do 30 days, right? And then once you've done the 30 days, do another 30 days. And then once you've done that, do another 30 days. And eventually these 30 days will add up to 6 months. Eventually it'll add up to a year, 2 years. And then you can start saying to yourself, I ain't going to do this no more. No more going to do this. No more. And the only thing that's stopping you from doing this is you. Regardless of what else happens in your life, the only thing that is going to stop you from moving forwards and moving into that life that you want is you. It's either going to be a lack of focus, it's going to be some limiting beliefs in yourself, or in what, like I say, thinking about things along that line. I can't do this forever, forever is a long time, I can't do it forever, So it's keeping that focus, keeping yourself moving forwards, and keeping your sort of feet firmly planted on the ground, and doing it day after day after day, right? Focus on the day, focus on the next day, Worry about tomorrow, right? And worry about the next day. But focus yourself on the future. Don't focus on the past, because the past has got nothing to offer you, right? You can learn as much as you want about the past, but at the end of the day, if you keep focusing on the past, that's what you're going to have. Focus on the alcohol, that's what you're going to have. It's why people who, they go to Alcoholics Anonymous, right, or places like this, right, and I don't want to keep shitting on the AA, right, because I do believe that in some ways they were the only thing around, right, or one of the only things around for a lot of people. But doing this thing where you go in week after week after week after week and you say, I'm Kevin, I'm an alcoholic, it's been X number of days since I had my last drink, and thinking along the lines of, I'm only one drink away from going back to the alcoholic again, right? What is that doing to you? That focus is focusing on the alcohol. What is it doing to you? I mean, you think about it, right? If you were trying to lose weight, for instance, and you went into a Weight Watchers meeting, and every time you went in there, you had to stand up and go, my name's Kevin, and I'm a fatty, right? Or I'm obese, right? And it's been so many days since my last hamburger, right? And then everyone sat down and started telling themselves stories about, well, yeah, I remember this one time when I went into McDonald's and stuff, and obviously McDonald's burgers and fries, that's my favourite food and stuff like that. And I was eating these burgers and fries, and then I decided to go up and get more, and I went up and I got another tray of burgers and fries, and I decided to get 2 burgers and some fries and this really creamy strawberry milkshake, and then I got a chocolate milkshake. And when I was drinking it, and it tasted so good, man, it was just, I remember biting into this burger, and the grease was dripping out of this burger, and I knew it wasn't doing me any good, and I knew it was going to be filling my arteries with clog busting shit, but I couldn't help myself. It was so good tasting, with that burger bun and that beef patty and all that grease dripping out of it, man, but yeah, anyway, those days are in my past now. Imagine what that would do to your system, to your resolve, to your self-confidence, right, to you as a person. Imagine 2 years down the road still going back when you've lost all the weight, right, you've lost 100 pounds, right, you've got into a great regime of exercising and nutrition, and you've managed to try and get your mindsets in a certain way, but you're still going back to this meeting, this Weight Watchers meeting, right? And you're still going in there and saying, I'm Kevin, I'm obese. It's been 300 or whatever, 600 and odd days since my last burger. Imagine what that would do to yourself. It just sounds so stupid because people wouldn't do it. So why would you do it with alcohol? And I'm saying to you, it's the focus of where you put your focus is where you're going to go. If you keep focusing on the past, keep focusing on the alcohol, guess what's going to happen? Even if you don't, you're still, day after day after day, you're fighting this thing. You're fighting, and that's what they all say, it's a fight. It's a fight until the day you die. And it's no wonder it's a fight until the day they die, because they're forcing it on themselves. They're forcing the focus of their minds onto the past, right? Instead of, from day one, saying, I'm not thinking about the past anymore. When it comes into my head, the alcohol thoughts, I'm going to think about it, right? I'm going to accept it. I'm going to even sort of feel good about it, right? And think about the cravings and think about what they're doing to me. But at the end of the day, this is the way I'm going to force myself to go. Makes sense. Focusing on the future. Focusing away from the alcohol. Focusing on just what you want to get into your life instead of what you want to get rid of, right? So all these things, all these self-imposed labels like alcoholic, sober, recovery, these are all things that are just holding you into your own self-perpetuated prison, right? It's a prison that you've constructed, and it's a prison that you can knock down at any time by just not, thinking about things from that perspective, not thinking about alcohol anymore from that perspective. But as I say, think about alcohol when it comes out. If it comes through your brain, allow the thought to go through, think about it and think, yeah, it's a thought about alcohol, I don't have to do anything about it. Let it float on by and then carry on with your life, And if you do that over and over again, the thoughts will come less and less. You'll smile when these thoughts come out, you'll think, yeah, that's gone now. It's out of my life. We'll leave it there. If you have any questions at all, leave them down below in the comment section. If you want to sign up to the Alcohol Mastery Starter Pack, there's a few different courses in there to try and help you out in the first few days when you're quitting. So go on over there and sign up for that. It's on the first page, and it'll come up as a pop-up no matter where you are on the site if you're there for the first time. Just put in your first name and email address and I'll send it straight out to you. So listen, until next time, I'm Kevin O'Hara for alcoholmastery.com. Take very good care of yourself. Keep the alcohol out of your mouth. Try and think about the propaganda and the programming that has been going on in your life for all these years, and think about it from an outside observer looking in. Once you do that and you understand that this is just that it is the programming that's sort of forcing you into, that has forced you into making these decisions over the years, it's easy enough to get over it. Once you have the power of your thoughts, once you have the control over your thoughts and you understand why you're doing something, it's a lot easier to deal with it in the future. So take care of yourself, onwards and upwards. Bye now.